Okay, so we're back here in part 2 of this video, going over the practice worksheet with primitive data types in Java. And in part 1 of the video, we went through lines 1 through 11 of this code. Now we're picking up with line 12. And in line 12, we have this long variable here with the identifier h. And that is being assigned the value of the ASCII number for capital A, which is 65, minus 28. And that answer, of 37 is going to be assigned to the variable of a data type long, which is an integer data type. So we don't need to tack a decimal on to the end of that. Right, it's just going to be outputting the number 37 when it prints to the console. Okay, then in the next line we have G, and I think we used purple for G. So let's grab purple there. Okay, so G, if you recall, up in line 11 was created as a double. Okay, so it has to, when it's stored, it has to store whatever the answer is as a double. And that double's value is going to be the value of E cast as an integer. So we're going to need to scroll up here and see if we can find where the value of E was assigned. So let's see, there's F, oh, here it is. Okay, E was a float. And it has the value 1.5 stored. So down here I'm taking a float of 1.5. Its value cast as an integer then is just a 1, because remember, casting into an integer just truncates that decimal, chops it right off. So now this is a 1. To that we add 4, so 1 plus 4 is 5, and this answer is still an integer. But when it gets stored into G, because G is a double, it's going to store with a decimal. And so that would output a 1.0 for that double when it's output, or sorry, 5.0. It's going to output a 5.0 for that double when it prints to the console. So 5.0. There we go. Okay, that brings us to line 14, which is a Boolean. Boolean are logical operator or logical variables. They either have a true or a false stored in them, and this Boolean is the letter I as its identifier, and so it would output the value it's assigned, which is true, and that would be in lowercase letters, T-R-U-E. Okay, so that would be line 14. And we're going to scroll down here to line 15, see if we can fit the whole thing on the page, and move this ASCII table out of the way. It's really stuck there. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now we're at line 15. 15 is going to take G, which is purple. So let's get that purple highlighter back again. And now we're taking the variable G, which is a double. We're going to reassign G to be the ASCII character of lowercase b. So let's grab that ASCII table again. And lowercase b is 98. So we're taking 98, and then we're multiplying that times 2 to get 196. And then that gets assigned to a double, so it's going to need a decimal point when it outputs to the console, and that would be 196.0 as that answer. Okay, that brings us to line 16, where b, lowercase b, is going to be reassigned the value of c cast as a byte. So let's scroll back up and find where B and C are. So B, where is B? B is way back up here at the top. So B is a byte, and its current value was 53. C is a character, and its current value is 97 up here, and then we come down. Up here it got recast, or reassigned as capital B, so its value there is 66. And scroll down a little more. So now we're taking that value, which was 66. That was lowercase c. Yeah, lowercase c was 66, and we're going to output that to the console. So let's get my pen. And 66 is our output. There we go. All right, line 17. So the letter H is a long. I think we used blue to keep track of that one. So H, there's the letter H. So H is a long, and its value is 99.999. And I'm not sure why we're casting, oh, I guess so it doesn't default as a double. So we're going to take that 9.9999 and just output that as a long. So where's my pen? There we go. Okay, and a long is a type of integer. So that's going to, since it's cast as a long, and then being stored as a long, it's going to truncate that decimal. And so that would be 9 as it outputs to the console because of the truncating. And that brings us to line 18, which is I is false. When we look up to find where I was first declared, that's a Boolean up here on line 14, and it was storing the value true. Now we have reassigned it to the value false, so when we would output it to the console, we would want it to output as false. But I think those quotes actually are going to cause a problem. So the quotes here, the double quotes, they indicate a string. And since I is a Boolean, it's not a string, we can't reassign it with quotes. We would have to have I equals the word false with no quotes to be able to reassign it. So this is going to cast an error when it runs ERR. Oops, that doesn't look like an R at all. ERR, that's even worse. Yeah, let's see if we can clean that up. So oh my gosh, this is awful. R. My computer is dragging so bad. Okay, that says the word error. It doesn't look like it, but it says the word error. Okay, so this we're going to comment out because it's going to throw an error because you can't assign a string literal to a Boolean data type. And that brings us down to 19. 19, we have the variable D, which, what is D? Let's scroll up here and see what D is. D is double. Okay, so we've got a double that's being reassigned the value 3.2 E2. Okay, and that E is a scientific notation. It's like times 10 to the exponent. So this would be 3.2 times 10 squared, or 10 to the power of 2, which would slide that decimal place over then 2 places, which would make a 320 as the value. So 320. But then since D is a double, it's going to include a 0.0 when it outputs to the console. Okay. Then we come down here to number 20, line 20. E equals 5F. Remember that lowercase f signals that we're dealing with a float. And then E, what is the data type for E? Let's scroll up here and see what E is. E is a float. We can see up there in line 7. So that's fine. We can assign a float, reassign a value with a float to a float. And that's going to output 5.0 since floats are decimal numbers. And then line 20, we've got, is that a J? Boy, I'm getting old. Okay, so the letter J is equal to an integer cast of the letter H. So H, when we look up here, was 99. And was J assigned? I don't even remember J being assigned to anything. Let's scroll up and see if we see the letter J. There's F, A, D, C, B, A. Yeah, J has never been assigned a data type, and that's going to throw an error. So E, capital E-R, see if I can write the word error now. Nope. E-R, R, it's getting worse instead of better. E-R-R-O-R, error. Goodness gracious. But, alright, so the error that's being thrown is because this variable J, it was never assigned a data type. So we can't have a value put in for J because we don't know what it is. Is it a integer? Is it a long? Is it a double? Is it a boolean? Is it a character? Is it a byte? A float? We have no idea. So that's where that error comes from. All right, hope that helps answer some of your questions, those of you that had them, and feel free to send me a message if you're still finding anything confusing.